Before they go to bed at night, they pour a little and sit around and sip it. It's like Mexican moonshine.
Is that what that is?
Toby Keith is one of the most unforgettable figures in the history of country music, who was loved by fans worldwide. However, behind the fame, there were always rumors about his personal life, finances, and the challenges he faced away from the spotlight. Now, months after his heartbreaking passing, his wife, Tricia Lucus, has finally spoken and confirmed the rumors that had surrounded Toby Keith in his final years. What did she reveal? Was Toby Keith hiding something from the world? You won't believe what she had to say. The life and legacy of Toby Keith. Toby Keith was an American country music singer, songwriter, record producer, actor, and businessman. He had a deep and powerful voice that could shake a room, and the kind of lyrics that made people feel like he was telling their own stories. He was more than just a regular country music legend. He was an icon who built his success from the ground up. Before his fame and success in the music industry, he was just a regular kid who grew up in Moore, Oklahoma, with his family. Toby Keith Covell was born on the 8th of July, 1961, in Clinton, Oklahoma. However, his family moved to Moore, Oklahoma, a small city near Oklahoma City, when he was still young, and raised him there. His father, Hubert Covell Jr., was an Army veteran, and his mother, Carol Covell, worked as a homemaker. Toby often spoke about how his father's military service instilled patriotism and love for his country. He fell in love with music right from an early age. Before the family moved to Moore, his love for music was ignited on one of his summer visits to his grandmother, who lived in Fort Smith. His grandmother owned Billy Garner's Supper Club in Fort Smith, and Keith became interested in the musicians who came there to play. He did odd jobs around the supper club and started getting up on the bandstand to play with the band. He got his first guitar at the age of 8. Toby was drawn to the sounds of Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson, and Johnny Cash, and by the time he was a teenager, he knew he wanted to be a musician. However, Toby wasn't just interested in music when he was young. He had other hobbies and also did some jobs to fend for himself. Football was a popular sport then in Oklahoma, and growing up, Toby became interested in it. He played defensive end for the football team of Moore High School, and he was quite a good player. After Toby graduated from high school, he took a job in the Oklahoma oil fields, following in the footsteps of many hard-working men in his community. He became a supervisor after being employed as a derrick hand in the oil fields. The job paid well, but was physically demanding and involved maintaining and repairing oil rigs. It was gruesome, and during these long, tough days in the oil fields, Toby dreamed of something bigger. Music was still his passion. Whenever he had free time, he played guitar and wrote songs. By his early 20s, the oil industry in Oklahoma was struggling, and job security became uncertain. At that point, Toby Keith knew he had to decide his future. He had spent years working hard labor to survive, but his heart had always been set on music. During this time, Toby and some friends formed a local band called Easy Money. They played at small bars, roadhouses, and local venues, performing covers of classic country hits while slowly working on their own music. He was still working in the oil field, and sometimes would have to leave in the middle of a concert if he was on duty. These early performances helped Toby refine his stage presence and songwriting skills, but fame still felt like a distant dream. Soon after, the oil industry in Oklahoma began a rapid decline, and Keith soon found himself unemployed. Instead of staying idle, he decided to go back to football and tried out for the professional Oklahoma Outlaws, but he did not make the team. He then joined the Oklahoma City Drillers as a semi-pro football player and played defensive end for the team while continuing to perform with his band. The City Drillers was just part of a minor league football system, and though Toby was skillful, he eventually realized he was not satisfied. He then returned to focus once again on music. The Easy Money Band began playing the bars and club circuit in Oklahoma and Texas. Still, success didn't come easy. For nearly a decade, Toby struggled to get noticed in the country music scene. He sent demo tapes to every record label he could find, but was rejected. However, he never gave up, and one day, his breakthrough in music came. Toby Keith was married to Tricia Lucus, and through all the struggles and setbacks he experienced in life, she was the one who never stopped believing in him. Toby and Tricia met in 1981 at a local bar in Oklahoma, long before he became successful in music. At the time, he was just an aspiring musician working in the oil fields and playing bars at night, but Tricia saw something special in him. The couple had a country love story and eventually married in 1984. Tricia became Toby's support system through the years of struggle, even when he had financial challenges. In interviews, Toby often credited Tricia for sticking by his side when others might have walked away. The couple had 3 children: Shelley Covell Rowland, Tricia's daughter from a previous relationship, whom Toby adopted and raised as his own; Crystal Keith, who followed in her father's footsteps and became a country singer; and Steelan Keith Covell, who pursued business rather than music but remained deeply connected to his father's legacy. Toby was a devoted husband and father. Even after he became famous, he made sure to spend time with his wife and kids and was very involved in their upbringing. His marriage to Tricia lasted nearly 40 years despite the pressures of celebrity life, a rare achievement in the entertainment industry where divorce was rampant. Toby Keith was also a patriotic citizen of his country, and most of his songs reflected his solidarity with and appreciation for those who protected the United States. His father, Hubert Covell, served in the U.S. Army, so growing up in a military family made Toby develop a profound respect for soldiers and veterans. One of his projections of patriotism was when he released the hit song, courtesy of the Red, White and Blue, The Angry American, following the September 11 attacks that shook the nation in 2001. The anthem was an unapologetic tribute that captured the rage Americans were feeling after the attacks on the World Trade Center. The song became a rally anthem for the soldier troops and solidified Toby as one of country music's most outspoken patriots. This was not all. Over the years, Toby made it his mission to visit military bases and perform his music for soldiers to support the U.S. troops. He partnered with the United Service Organizations and completed more than 11 tours, traveling to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other war zones to entertain and encourage American soldiers and veterans. Patriotism was part of who Toby was, and he saw himself as an American first and a musician second. Toby was also a dedicated philanthropist, especially when it came to helping sick children. In 2004, he helped found Allie's House, a cancer charity named after Allison Webb, the deceased daughter of one of Keith's former bandmates. Webb passed away a month before her 3rd birthday to Wilms's tumor. He also founded the Toby Keith Foundation in 2006 to build housing for children with cancer and other serious illnesses. In 2014, he opened OK Kids Corral, a free lodging facility in Oklahoma City for families of children undergoing cancer treatment. The facility provided families with a comfortable place to stay at no cost, allowing them to focus on their child's health without worrying about expensive hotels or travel expenses. Over 2 decades since its creation, the annual Toby Keith and Friends Golf Classic has raised more than $15 million for the OK Kids Corral. Toby didn't just open charity foundations in his name, he was actively involved in their activities. He visited sick children, raised funds, and used his platform to make a real difference. Despite his success, he never forgot where he came from and the people who supported him. He stayed humble, showed empathy to those who were less privileged, and always looked for ways to give back to society. Toby Keith's musical career. Toby Keith's journey to becoming a country music legend didn't just happen overnight. His success in music and the fame that followed came after years of hard work and consistency. He had spent many years working in the oil fields before finally turning to music full-time, but the industry wasn't quick to welcome him. He started by performing in small bars and clubs in Oklahoma with hopes of a breakthrough. In the late 1980s, he recorded demo tapes and sent them to record labels in Nashville, but rejection after rejection came his way. The record labels refused to sign him because they weren't convinced he had the right look or sound to make it big. However, Toby wasn't one to give up. He was intentional about his music, performed wherever possible, and built a dedicated fan base. One day, his breakthrough finally came, and that marked the beginning of his journey to stardom. It so happened that Harold Shedd, a producer at Mercury Records, received a copy of Toby's demo from a flight attendant who was a fan of Keith's. What caught his attention was Toby's raw talent and unmatched country sound. Without hesitation, Harold Shedd offered him a contract with Mercury Records. After signing the deal at Mercury Records, Toby released his debut album, Toby Keith, in 1993, and the first single from the album, Should Have Been a Cowboy, became an instant classic. The song became one of the most played country songs of the 1990s and established him as a professional singer-songwriter. His debut album didn't stop at just one hit. Songs like He Ain't Worth Missing and A Little Less Talk and A Lot More Action also climbed the charts, proving that Toby Keith was here to stay. He later left Mercury for 3 years, coming back in 1997 to release his final studio album for Mercury, Dream Walkin'. A few years later, he and his producer, James Stroud, left the Mercury label and signed a deal with DreamWorks Records, headed by his producer. While his early success was impressive, Toby Keith did not follow a traditional formula like other country singers. His songs often spoke about the struggles, values, and sense of pride of working-class Americans. He continued releasing hit albums throughout the 1990s, with songs like Who's That Man and Me Too, confirming his place in country music. However, it wasn't until the early 2000s that Toby Keith became a household name across America. The early 2000s marked a turning point in his career, and it all started with a song inspired by the demise of his father in a traffic accident in 2001. The incident, combined with the attacks of September 11, prompted Keith to write the controversial Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, The Angry American, which was popular, particularly among military personnel. The song was a tribute to the military and a rallying cry for American patriotism, with lyrics like, "You'll be sorry that you messed with the United States of America." When it was released, the song met with controversy and criticism from the public. It was criticized for being too aggressive and politically charged, but despite the backlash, it became one of Toby's most famous hits. At one point, Toby became frustrated with major record labels because they were limiting his creativity and taking too much of his profits. So when DreamWorks closed in 2005, Keith founded the label Showdog Nashville, which merged with Universal South Records to become Showdog Universal Music in December 2009. The decision was risky, but Toby was always a businessman at heart. He wanted the freedom to own his music, control his releases, and make decisions without industry interference. Going independent didn't slow him down. The country's star continued his hot streak by releasing chart-topping albums including Honky Tonk University and White Trash with Money. Hits like As Good As I Once Was and Beer for My Horses, a duet with Willie Nelson, kept him at the top of the country music world. In 2017, Keith signed on to perform at Donald Trump's pre-inauguration concert at the Lincoln Memorial on the 19th of January. However, he said his appearance was for the country, not in support of a politician or political party. He pointed out that he had performed at events for previous presidents George Bush and Obama, and over 200 shows in Iraq and Afghanistan for the United Service Organization. Keith took inspiration from an unlikely source for his next song, film actor and director Clint Eastwood. The singer attended Eastwood's golf tournament in 2018 when he learned about the 88-year-old's upcoming movie The Mule and asked where he continues to get his energy. "I just get up every morning and go out, and I don't let the old man in," Eastwood told him, prompting Keith to write a song for the film. Toby was diagnosed with stomach cancer in 2021, and even as he battled with the sickness, he continued to perform when he could. His final album, 100% Songwriter, released in 2023, featured a collection of his early career hits like "Should Have Been a Cowboy," "You Shouldn't Kiss Me Like This," and "Who's That Man?" On the 28th of September 2023, after receiving the first Country Icon Award at the People's Choice Country Awards, Keith performed publicly for the first time since his June 2022 cancer diagnosis announcement. His performance of "Don't Let the Old Man In," which was previously used in Clint Eastwood's 2018 film The Mule, received a standing ovation. Though visibly thinner, his voice remained strong, and he delivered a performance that brought fans to tears. Unfortunately, Keith passed away in February 2024 after a 2-year struggle with stomach cancer. Shortly after his demise, he became the first to claim 9 of the top 10 hits on the country digital song sales chart. Keith released 19 studio albums, 2 Christmas albums, and 5 compilation albums throughout his 3 decades in the spotlight. He also produced 5 albums that topped the Billboard 200, sold more than 25 million album copies, received 7 Grammy Award nominations, and won 14 Academy of Country Music Awards, including 2 for Entertainer of the Year. His accomplishments earned him a place in the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2015, and he was also posthumously inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2024. Business ventures, financial struggles, and health challenges. Toby Keith wasn't just a successful musician and a savvy businessman. He wasn't just content with making hit songs. He desired to build an empire of businesses that would carry his name far beyond his music career. So, in addition to owning his record label, he decided to venture into a restaurant and liquor business. He launched a chain of restaurants called Toby Keith's I Love This Bar and Grill, named after his hit song I Love This Bar. It's worth noting that Toby Keith didn't own all the restaurants that bear his name. He had a licensing agreement that allowed the restaurants to use his name. The restaurants took off quickly, opening 15 locations in major cities across the United States, including a spot in Keith's hometown, Oklahoma City. I Love This Bar and Grill became a popular destination for people who wanted to enjoy great food, live music, and a country-style atmosphere. His business ventures didn't stop there. He also launched his whiskey brand, Wild Shot Mezcal, which quickly became one of the top-selling mezcal brands in the US. At its peak, Toby Keith's restaurant chain brought in millions of dollars, making him one of the most successful musicians in country music. His ability to turn his brand into a business empire set him apart from many of his peers. Keith's music career and other business ventures made him one of the wealthiest celebrities in the United States, with a net worth estimated at over $350 million at his peak. The July 15th, 2013 edition of Forbes magazine features Keith on the cover with the caption, "Country Music's $500 Man." However, business success wasn't always easy to hold on to. Like every other venture, Toby experienced financial troubles and business setbacks. After some years, cracks began to form in Toby Keith's restaurant empire. Several locations started to struggle, facing issues with management, high operational costs, and declining customer turnout. Some faced legal troubles, others failed to pay employees on time, and a few even filed for bankruptcy. Toby Keith's money problems began in January 2013. Almost immediately after the I Love This Bar and Grill opened another location in Destiny, USA. Destiny, USA is the 6th largest shopping center in the nation and the largest in New York. Despite the company saying its Destiny location was among its best performing nationwide, it struggled to pay the bills. The specifics of the lawsuit were complicated, but it boiled down to this. Toby Keith's said it wasn't making enough money to pay full rent, while Destiny said the restaurant had broken its contract. So the state filed a tax warrant against Toby Keith, claiming his restaurant owed back taxes, and he was told to pay $10.5 million. After the management company faced a series of legal issues, the restaurants began closing down one by one, till it was left with just 2. Rumors started circulating in the media, and many questions were raised. Had Toby Keith lost millions? Was his empire collapsing? For years, Toby never publicly addressed the financial troubles, nor did he blame anyone or make excuses for his loss. He simply moved on and focused on his music and other projects. However, behind the scenes, those who knew him best could see the stress. He had worked too hard to build his success just to watch it slip away. Toby Keith eventually navigated out of his business challenges and gained ground again in the business world. However, little did he know that he would face a much bigger battle that had nothing to do with money. Toby got sick and was diagnosed with stomach cancer in late 2021, but did not reveal this to the public until June 2022. He mentioned that he underwent chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery for 6 months. Fans were shocked because Toby had always been so strong and energetic. It was hard to believe that he had been fighting the toughest battle of his life behind the scenes. In a December 2022 interview, the singer said he felt optimistic about his prognosis. By June 2023, Keith indicated the treatments were working, telling the Oklahoman that his tumor had shrunk by 1/3 and that his health was improving. For Toby Keith, showing weakness wasn't an option. And even in the middle of his treatment, he refused to quit. He had spent his entire life fighting, proving himself, standing tall no matter what. He wasn't about to let cancer define him. He made a few public appearances in 2022, but by mid-2023, Toby Keith had significantly cut back on performances. Still, he refused to let his illness take away his passion for music. He made his final performance in September 2023 at the first ever People's Choice Country Awards, at which he received the Country Icon Award. That night, the singer elicited many tears in beer when he sang the moving "Don't Let the Old Man In," a track he had written for Clint Eastwood's movie The Mule. Fans noticed his movements were slower and he looked thinner and weaker despite his powerful voice. He assured his fans that he was getting better, but behind the scenes, his condition was worsening. By the end of 2023, Toby was spending most of his time at home with his wife, Tricia Lucus, and their children by his side every step. When Toby passed on, the world received the heartbreaking news with sadness. Fans, fellow musicians, and military service members who loved him mourned and poured in tributes. The Oklahoma flags were flown to show respect and mourning for the loss of American music legend Toby Keith, and his music flooded the airwaves. However, after the world mourned and the initial shock wore off, people began asking questions. Had Toby Keith been sick for longer than he admitted? Had he hidden the severity of his illness for the sake of his career and family? Had Toby Keith's financial troubles left his family in a difficult situation? For weeks, the Keith family remained silent. They chose to grieve privately, away from the spotlight. Then, Tricia Lucus finally spoke out. Her words shocked fans. She confirmed what many had suspected all along, that there was more to the story than anyone had known. What she revealed about Toby Keith's final years, his business struggles, and his last wishes changed everything. The shocking truth behind the rumors. For years, Toby Keith had been an influential country music figure, known for his patriotism, unapologetic lyrics, and bold personality. He was one person who never gave up, even when he faced criticism, industry pressures, or personal challenges. So, when he was diagnosed with stomach cancer in late 2021, he approached it the only way he knew how, privately, with resilience and without asking for sympathy. However, the world didn't know Toby had been sick long before his public announcement. In the early stages, he ignored the warning signs: fatigue, stomach pain, and weight loss. He kept working, performing, and acting like everything was fine. He refused to be seen as weak or vulnerable. Tricia admitted that Toby had been feeling unwell for a while, but he didn't want to stop performing and didn't want to let his fans down. After he passed away in February 2024, people expected an immediate statement from Tricia. However, weeks passed and she remained quiet. Many assumed she was grieving privately, while others speculated that she was protecting their family from media scrutiny. She also addressed and explained in the interview why she took her time. She needed space to grieve the loss of her husband, best friend, and the father of her children. Losing him wasn't just a public tragedy, it was a personal one for her. She also admitted that she had waited to speak out because she wanted to be careful about what she shared. Toby was a private man, and even in death, she wanted to respect his wishes. When she saw rumors spreading about his health, finances, and final days, she knew it was time to set the record straight. One of the biggest rumors after Toby's passing was that he had suffered bankruptcy. People speculated that the loss he experienced in his business ventures had drained his wealth, leaving his family in financial distress. Tricia quickly shut down those rumors. Toby wasn't broke. Yes, he had business challenges, but he built a career that provided for the family and ensured they were financially secure for generations. She acknowledged that Toby Keith's I Love This Bar and Grill had struggled in later years, with many locations closing due to mismanagement, lawsuits, and high costs. However, she clarified that he had learned from those losses and had other investments that ensured his family's security. She explained that Toby was a smart businessman who didn't put all his eggs in one basket. His music royalties alone were enough to keep his family financially stable. His songs, merchandise, and brand deals continued to generate income, and he had prepared for the future. While fans saw a country legend, Tricia saw a man fighting a battle he rarely talked about. She described the final months of Toby's life and how he continued to put on a brave face, even when he was in unbearable pain. She admitted that the hardest part was watching him suffer and said that in his last few months, Toby's body was failing him, but his spirit never did. Even when he was weak, he'd say, "I'm fine, baby. Don't worry about me." There were good days and bad days. Some days, he would sit with his guitar, singing softly to himself. On other days, he could barely get out of bed. However, no matter how sick he was, he refused to stop living. Toby didn't want pity, he wanted to be remembered as strong, and that's exactly how he left this world, on his terms, as a fighter. After Tricia shared the painful truth about Toby's illness and finances, she turned her focus to his legacy and how she plans to uphold it. Toby worked too hard to build his legacy, and she will never let his works be forgotten. She promised that his music would live on and continue to inspire people. She also said that his charity and philanthropy work, especially his support for military personnel and children's hospitals, would continue. She also hinted at future projects in Toby's name. She assured fans that Toby Keith's presence would always be felt through his music and the charity works he dedicated himself to while still alive. As she closed her statement, Tricia left fans with one final message, reminding everyone of Toby Keith's true self. Toby was a devoted husband and father, a patriot, and a fighter who sang his heart out, stood up for what he believed in, and never gave in to pressure. She wanted people to remember his strength, kindness, and passion for life. Toby Keith was a country music star and a man who held on to everything he believed in until the end. As a result, he will never be forgotten. This is the real story about Toby Keith that fans never knew until now. Which of Toby Keith's songs do you love the most? And what can you say about his life and legacy? Leave your answer in the comments. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.